Today we're going to make my dad's sour cream pound cake recipe. And, obviously this has some sentimental value for me. And quite honestly, it's delicious. We're going to start out with a whole cup of butter. That's about 227 grams. I have to admit that until a few years ago when I started doing this professionally, I never actually used to measure anything out by grams, but now I'm hooked. Alright, so there we go, 227 grams of butter. And next thing we're going to add is a small amount of sugar, just a teeny bit, 3 cups. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get this creaming while we get the rest of our ingredients together. So while that's mixing, we're going to go ahead and get our dry ingredients together. This is my fancy cake flour container. And we're going to get 3 cups of cake flour. Alright, and now we need a teaspoon of salt. And a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Alright. Well, that gets together our dry ingredients, and in the meantime, our butter is still beating to death. Okay, this recipe also calls for 1 cup of sour cream. So our sugar is now getting to that point where it's nice and fluffy and light. You really have to beat the stew out of it in order to get it to this point, but it is well worth it. Once it does get to that point, you add the eggs 1 or 2 at a time and let them beat in. Today we are using pre-cracked eggs from eggs that I cracked during a how to crack eggs one-handed video, and I didn't want to let them go to waste, so we saved them for this pound cake. And after they've mixed in, you add in another couple of eggs until you've added them all. It takes 6 in total. Whoo! Peace! And then next we're going to go ahead and add in our almond extract. Now you don't have to use almond here. You can leave it out entirely, add coconut or any other flavor that you want, but that's what my daddy used, and so that's what I do. It's a 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract, followed by a tablespoon of vanilla extract. When using vanilla, I highly recommend that you use the real stuff. Don't use that imitation vanilla. It's just not worth it. It doesn't taste as good, and you really will be able to tell the difference. Sure, it's cheaper, but sometimes you get what you pay for. You want to get something that's truly vanilla extract, not imitation. Also, a little trick for you, I've learned the hard way. You have to pulse it after adding your vanilla, otherwise it just goes flipping out the bowl. After that's mixed up, we're going to go ahead and add in about a third of the flour. It's not exact, so don't, worry about measuring it. Just approximately a third of the flour and then a third of the sour cream. Mix it in and then keep repeating it until you've got it all mixed in. Also, a little friendly tip, when you add the flour, don't put it on high right away, otherwise you end up with a bunch of flour in your face. Sure, that can be fun, but it is a little messy. Let's put in the last of our flour. And the last of our sour cream. Alright, so once you get it off the mixer, I go ahead and give it another little whirl. Because there is flour that gets caught up on the sides and whatnot. And some sugar that'll get caught up on the bottom. So, the way I serve these through the bakery is in individual cakes. So a friend of mine at church actually gave me this pan, and it has become one of my favorites. I use it for a lot of different things. And even though it's stone and they say you don't need any oil, I discovered I need oil and I need the flour kind. So I use the flour kind of spray. And because I'm short, I never reach the back. I get to do it this way. Actually, a little aside, I always knew I was short. I mean, hey, good things come in small packages, right? But, a little aside, I always knew that I was short. I mean, hey, we always say good things come in small packages. But I discovered just exactly how short when we started doing these videos, and I had to have a camera above my head. And I was stunned to see just how little we had to raise the boom arm. Honestly, I was a little mortified. But what can you do? Alrighty, so 3 scoops of batter per cake. This is enough batter to make between 12 and 13 of these. Okay, so these now go into a 325-degree oven for 38 minutes. Your oven may vary, so you might want to do a slightly different time. Try it a little bit less and see what happens. Whoops. This is what happens when you're not paying that much attention. Okay, so now that we have our pound cake baked, what we need to do is add a little glaze to it. This is actually completely optional. The original recipe doesn't call for it, but once I started adding the glaze, they sold a lot more, became a lot more popular at the markets and things like that. So I generally do that for the markets, but for you, do whatever you want. If you like it, add it. If you don't want to, hey, don't. Not gonna hurt my feelings. All right, so it's a really simple glaze. It's a vanilla cream glaze. So what we're gonna do is add some powdered sugar. And this is something that I just kind of eyeball. I don't really do an exact amount. You know, the high technical look at it and throw something in there method. Add a little salt. Okay, so we're going to add a little bit of vanilla. Again, use real vanilla, don't use the fake stuff. And then lastly, we're going to add some heavy cream. I generally try to buy the premium heavy cream, but you know, these days you get what you can get. And we've got this whole thing over a double boiler system here. You can buy specifically a double boiler if you like, or you could do what I do, which is just pot with some water, metal or glass would work too, bowl on top. I think I added a little too much vanilla because it's looking a little tan, so I think I'll add some more powdered sugar and a little more cream. Like I say, it's just, you know, it's an eyeball thing. Do however much you want. And generally I just kind of let the heat melt it all down so it's nice and thin. And then you brush it on top. This is a whisk that I got for free with some kit that I purchased. I don't even remember. And it's this really cheesy, lightweight whisk, which for a lot of things it doesn't work. But for something like this, it's great because it's so lightweight that when you set it down, the bowl doesn't tilt at all. I have much nicer whisks that, you know, heavier handle, sturdier tines, I guess you would call them. And every time I'd set it down, the entire bowl would tip like this. So I quickly realized, hey, use the cheap, cheesy one, and it works perfect. I'm a firm believer in just using what you got. You don't have to go out and buy something new for everything. That's looking pretty good. Just give it another minute or so to thin out. And because I do eyeball this, it's kind of like snowflakes. It comes out a little different every single time. There we go. Oh, and before I forget, a nice little trick that I've learned is when you're doing something like this and you're going to have things dripping underneath, I used to put a pan underneath it so that it would drip into the pan, then you wash the pan, blah, blah, blah. But I was staying at my mom's place down in Florida one time and I was making something for her and didn't have all this extra stuff available. So I thought, oh, I'll just throw some plastic wrap down. Turns out it's brilliant. So all I do is I put a layer of plastic wrap down underneath whatever's dripping. Then once you're done, you just wrinkle up the plastic wrap, pitch it, you're done. You don't have all that extra washing and all that extra hassle to deal with. So little trick, or as they used to call it in my day, but now it's called a hack. Little hack for you. All right, so we are done with that. So then you take your glaze that you've created and dip it in. I have these silicone brushes that I bought off of Amazon. They were really cheap. I think the set of 4 of them was about $10, something ridiculous like that. And just brush it on there. It's best if you do it when these are fresh out of the oven, but that's not always possible depending on what's going on. So if you do it after they've cooled a little bit, it works just fine as well. All right. All right, so there you have it. That is my dad's sour cream pound cake. It's something that you just cannot resist. It's delicious, and it has wonderful tradition behind it. All right, my friends, that covers the basics of how to make my dad's sour cream pound cake. I hope that this has been helpful for you and that you actually do take the plunge and try to make it for yourself. One thing I did want to mention, and I touched on it a little bit earlier, is that if you want to do a different flavor, say you don't like almond or you have an almond allergy, if you don't want to use almond extract or coconut, you can also use lemon extract or orange. There's all kinds of different flavors that you can try. Chocolate would be wonderful as well, for example. Just venture out and try it and let me know if you do. If this video has been helpful for you, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. We're going to have some more videos coming out soon, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thank you.